Hello, my name is Dante No. I'm doing my narrative review for my History 156 class, and I'm going to talk about my big idea. So, my big idea that I'm taking away from the course isn't necessarily one big idea. I'm going to be taking away a many different things that we learned throughout the course, and I grasped on strongly, and these things are like not anything singular. It's more of a expansion and broad understanding, and that would necessarily be like the Middle Passage, like what we learned about the Middle Passage, the what we learned about Pocahontas, Christopher Columbus, what we learned about all the historians, all their different perspectives. So I'm gonna take those. I'm also gonna take and play what we learned from the Declaration of Independence and everything that led up to it, and all that stuff that revolved around it. Also, the what happened with the Louisiana Purchase, that I'm also gonna take away, and I think I have to explain that when I learn something, it's not necessarily I just learn it, take it away, throw it out. I learn it to learn it and remember it. So when I read through the textbook, I read it like a lot of times. So it will sink into my brain, and it's easier for me to elaborate when I do. So I think my big idea isn't necessarily my one big idea. My one big idea is a combination everything I've learned and grasped through all the materials that we learned and used throughout the course. And so my big idea that I'm going to take away is everything I just listed there. And I'm going to apply this when I have conversations or debates with people about history. And I think I'm going to remember all those things I just listed because I value history as an important thing to remember and to understand as. So that's my big idea. I want to talk about next is change of perspective and understanding throughout the course or throughout the quarter from start to end. I think of history and certain events that occurred, my view hasn't really, I don't want to say it hasn't changed because of course it changed a little, but it hasn't dramatically changed because I kind of understand or viewed that in a certain way that it kind of makes sense to me. Although it doesn't make sense to me, but like it makes sense to me. I don't know how to explain it, of all the things that occurred, and my understanding has broadened completely from the beginning of the course to the end from all the new information. And I don't want to say my view hasn't changed because I'm closed-minded. I want to say my view has changed because I'm so open-minded that it makes sense those things occurred. So my view hasn't changed necessarily, but my understanding has broadened completely because now I could go back and since before I took this class, I had a strong understanding of history and many different events that happened throughout our history. I already had a strong understanding, but now I could be specific with certain events, and I could point and I could reference the American Yawp as evidence for when I'm having discussions or maybe later down in any classes I take throughout college. So I think my view hasn't really, or perspective hasn't completely changed. It changed a little, not necessarily in any big dramatic way. And my understanding has brought in completely from all the new material and stuff that we learned. Next, I'm going to talk about what have I taken away. In conclusion, what have I taken away from this course? And it's hard for me to say I've taken something away because there's so much still to learn from history. It just doesn't end at this one quarter. So it's hard for me to say in conclusion. So I think it's better for me to say from my understanding of what I learned and what I could take away is that America has had a very complex events that has occurred to what has created America today. And I think that's the best way I can conclude it without getting like directly specifically into any other topics, because it's a conclusion, it's broad. Any questions I have that I want to learn about the what else? Well, obviously I have millions of questions and a whole bunch of what ifs, but that's just for myself to dive deeper into the history and take more history classes, or it's not necessarily something that it's any last questions type of question. It's something that I have to go search and look for by myself. Now we're on the final questions of evaluation of my performance throughout the quarter, and I want to be completely transparent and completely truthful throughout my work for my self-evaluation throughout the quarter. And I'm going to break it down into 3 sectors. The first being time management, quality of work, and consistency of quality of work. So I'm going to start with my biggest flaw, which was time management and time efficiency of getting stuff done on certain days. I think that was my biggest flaw throughout the quarter. Some weeks were good, I did every day like this. Some weeks were just I didn't do work for a few days, and then the last couple of days I slammed 12 hours in on certain days. So I think my time efficiency or time management throughout the quarter of work was here and there, but I don't think it necessarily affected my performance of work. So I think my time management wasn't poor because I didn't just throw it out the whole quarter. I did do work in an effective manner, but some days it was just, I don't know what it was. It was terrible, and I'm working on it. And I think it's partially because it's an online class. The work isn't necessarily on a deadline. It's all due at the end of the quarter. So I think that's kind of partial with it affecting how I see things. I see it's due at the end of the quarter. I don't have to stress too much about it. So I think that's a big effect. So time management was, I wouldn't say poor, I'll just say good. It was alright. Next was quality of work. I think my quality of work was amazing. Performance of work is amazing. I do all my work as efficient and as well as I could do. I give all my work 100%. And when I do work on assignments and anything like that, I I give 100%. I'm in that when I do work. I'm in that zone, as I say. I'm in that zone when I do work. I snap. I do. I'm very efficient with my work, and I think my work is very productive. So I think efficiency of like work quality was as good as I could be, because I think I did the best as I could have done, and I don't think I was slacking in per se as work quality. So next is quality of work consistency that I want to talk about, and the consistency of the quality of my work. I think the consistency of my quality of work didn't change. I think my consistency of quality stayed exactly the same. Quality of work was always 100%, always trying to do the most, always, not slacking, always, giving more, doing more. So I think my consistency of quality was always given 100%, and my quality of 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 performance was always 100%. But my time management wasn't the best, and that can go under Roblox, for the question. And I think that's something I gotta work on myself, and something that I can't. It's something that I have to fix over time. It's not something I fix over day one, and I am working on it, and I'm trying to improve every day of that problem. And I think how I can overcome that, it's difficult, but I think it's just time and consistency of staying to doing what I don't want to do, but even though it's good for me. So like, yeah, it's that. So if I would scale myself on a 4.0 scale of when evaluating myself, I would say of those three factors: time management, quality of work, and consistency of quality of work. Okay, time management, I'm giving myself a 3. 3 because I didn't do sloppy. I didn't, I still did work. Although most of the assignments say late, I just turned it in late. But it wasn't, I didn't turn it in or try to turn it in past the due date. So I just give myself a 3, because I know myself that even though most were late, I am trying to do better. And so the second is quality of work. I think I deserve a 4 on quality of work if I would value myself, because my quality, I've always given 100%, and from the feedback that was given, I assume the quality of work was really good. And consistency of the quality of work, I think I deserve a 4 on that, because the quality of the work never changed, and I could see that by the consistent good comments from you, and the consistency of the grade, the point average for the grades. So overall, if I had to sum it up, I don't want to be biased, but I want to say that time management isn't necessarily a big factor to online class, because I didn't turn anything past the deadline, right? It's just, those are just recommended dates, and everyone works at their different pace. So I think that time management sector that I was talking about should be put into the overall effect. So to evaluate myself, I think I deserve a 4.0 grade, but that's up to you. And I understand I have flaws and I'm not perfect, but I'm always trying to become a better person every day. Bye-bye, and thank you for watching.